and I'm going to tell the unadorned truth, and I hope gently and, in as least offensive way as I possibly can. But I'm going to tell that truth until the day I die, and I really mean that. And I'm going to try to do it in my personal life too. It's one of my things that I've resolved to do until I die, because I think that's the answer. I really do. And so it's a subscription model, just like any other streaming service or one of these companies with at the end. And the point is really simple. It's twofold. One, you want to bring a lot of material. I hate the word content. I'm trying to think of an option. A lot of material, a lot of news, a lot of facts, a lot of thoughtful opinions to people. You want a library, okay? We had a huge library where we worked before. We lost the whole thing. So we want to rebuild that. And second, you need some scale. I'm not a money person, as you said correctly. I probably should be a little more, but we live pretty simply, actually. So we don't. But anyway, but you need to have a lot of people work for you if you want to gather the information. There are just too many things going on, and so in order to have, a staff capable of bringing a lot of information about what's happening right now, particularly in the next 12 months, which will reshape the world, in my view. You need to pay them, and you need to have a real company. And the downside is, of course, once you have a real company, then the stakes rise. If you're a lone person, whatever, you're more cat-like. You're like the Viet Cong. You can march 20 miles and sleep in a tree. But if you're a company, you're more a fixed position and a fixed target. So there is a downside to it. But we felt that we needed to do it because there's just a lot going on. So it's a subscription service.
Okay, and to get it, people need to go to tuckercarlson.com right now. And as I understand it, they can sign up and they can have this subscription relationship with you for $9 a month or $72 a year, something like that. And in addition, they can still get all the free. They can still get all the free content on X and on an audio podcast that you're dropping.
Exactly. And the X stuff is not going away. And I've just been amazed by what a great platform it's been. And the main, I've noticed the scale of it. I'm sure coming from television, you see this too. It's like the number of people who watch is so dwarfs anything that's happening on linear television. It's like a different world. I know, it's amazing. But the thing that I really notice is how international it is. I mean, it truly is the world's last big free speech platform. I mean, it is that. And so there's something very appealing about that. We took 7 international trips this summer around the world, and I wanted to do that because I've been stuck in the studio for all these years, and I hadn't done it in a long time, since the beginning of the War on Terror, actually. And it just confirmed my belief that everything is changing so fast, particularly America's role in the world. And so we've got, this winter we're traveling around the world to a bunch of different places. We've got a bunch of different interviews and stories that we're doing in various countries, and that's a huge feature of it. And that, a lot of that will appear on X, but you also sort of wonder, I like long form. You now do it for a living, and you know how satisfying it is to talk to someone for more than 8 minutes. You sort of wonder, there's got to be a place that's easier to view than, social media are right now. And so some of that will go on X, and then if you're interested in some other features and documentaries, we're doing a bunch of documentaries. All of that is in the subscription service.
You know what this reminds me of, Tucker? I appeared at some media conference a year ago, and one of the main featured speakers was Mr. Beast. And Mr. Beast, he's incredibly successful. He's figured out the YouTube algorithm. Like, the head of YouTube was there talking about how he's spoken to this guy, Jimmy, and how he's not just some kid who got lucky on YouTube. Like, he figured out the algorithm and started programming to it, and just everything exploded. I think he's got 200 million subscribers now. But one of the ways in which he did it was he appeals to a worldwide audience. He's gone beyond the United States of America, and he produces content that could be interesting across cultures, across languages, and so on. And that's kind of what I see you doing. You're like becoming the Mr. Beast of news.
Well, I would say, that's a huge compliment because he's been so in the medium. I would just say 2 things. He works with YouTube. Okay, so he's actually sort of part of their business in a way. I'm not attacking that, but that's a little bit different from what we're doing. And I would also say that he's very self-consciously, non-offensive. He's trying to appeal to his wife. He's Disney
and
trying
you're the
to sell
opposite.
a movie in China. So, well, a little bit. Just by, Not that I seek to offend people, I really don't. In fact, I think it's wrong to offend people for its own sake. I'm not giving the finger to old ladies at crosswalks. You know what I mean? I actually don't like to offend people.
No, but truth-telling in modern day America can be offensive.
Well, in the modern day world, I mean, what's happening in America looks very much like what's happening in half a dozen other countries I've been to in the last couple of months. I mean, it's the same template. The countries are becoming less democratic. They yelp about democracy constantly. Democracy, we're defending democracy, when in fact, they're creating permanent oligarchies with the help of technology. That's exactly what's happening. And again, not just here. The Anglosphere, they put people in concentration in Australia. They ended free speech in New Zealand and any right to self-defense. Like, these are countries that are becoming authoritarian. Canada killed, in the last few years, has killed over 40,000 of its own citizens through state administered suicide. Like, there's all this amazing stuff going on. And so to push back against any of it immediately means you're going to be called, let me guess, a racist, and a bunch of other things too. And so it's kind of baked in the cake. Like, you're gonna make people mad if you call them out on what they're doing. That's wrong. But that's kind of the whole point, is because we don't. I mean, and that really is the whole point of the subscriptions. Is like, I mean, I don't know how honest I should probably be here, but Elon never offered me any money or anything, or to hire me or anything like that. But I love him. I think he's wonderful. But it never occurred to me to ask to work for him, because the whole point is not working for anybody. That's like the whole point. And we turned down a couple of opportunities, very generous, and I think they were meant in the best spirit. But just the nature of that arrangement is something that at this stage of my life, I just don't want. I want to wake up and say to myself, you can say whatever you want, within the bounds of what you think is true, your own conscience, whatever, but I'm going to make those calls, and I'm going to do it without interference, period. And I'm going to tell the unadorned truth, and I hope gently and, in as least offensive way as I possibly can. But I'm going to tell that truth until the day I die, and I really mean that. And I'm going to try to do it in my personal life too. It's one of my things that I've resolved to do until I die, because I think that's the answer. I really do.